Welcome to the deepest franchise mode series in Madden history. Possibly, I haven't done any fact checking to back that claim up, but what's important is that this will be the most in-depth, the most immersive, and most importantly, the most realistic franchise mode series you'll ever watch. What does this franchise have that makes it so different? Random events. This entire idea is thanks to comments and suggestions from you guys. Listen, after 3 years of doing the same thing in franchise mode, it got stale, it wasn't fun to make or play anymore, and I wasn't going to force out videos that waste your time to watch them. But that didn't mean that I'd given up, and I started planning this a long time ago, and a lot of work has gone into it before Madden 20 ever even came out. And the most important thing about this series is it'll always stay fresh. In this video, I'll try and explain how it all works without getting too boring with the details. Essentially, every in-game week, 1 of 7 random events can take place. Now, all of these things take place in real life. We see them every year in the NFL, but this has never been translated into a feature on Madden. In this franchise mode, we've added suspensions, practice injuries, and truly random events. First, suspensions. Any given week, a player on our team could be suspended for substance abuse, missing 2 weeks, using PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, missing 4 weeks, or personal conduct, missing 6 weeks. Those are the 3 forms of suspensions we see in the NFL, and the chances they occur are based on real-life NFL statistics. The player affected will be chosen entirely randomly, and the roster will be ordered by a random stat like jumping, changing every time, and a random number between 1 and 53 will be picked. There's one wrinkle. Team leaders with no prior history are ineligible, and in that case, the player selected will be 1 place further down on the roster. If a particular suspension lands on a player with no previous history, but a player with a prior suspension in that area is within 2 places, they will be hit by the suspension instead. This will regularly leave us with big decisions to make. If a second string or low-rated starter is suspended for 6 weeks, do we carry them on the roster for that long or just cut them and find a replacement? Practice injuries are also a regular occurrence, even during the regular season, and each week there's a chance a player will suffer from a concussion, missing 1 week, an MCL injury missing between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on their injury rating, or an ACL tear making them miss the rest of the season. For MCL injuries, players with injury ratings between 99 to 90 will miss 2 weeks, 89 to 83, and 79 and below, 4 weeks. And finally, the truly random event. Now this could be anything. Maybe the player was involved in a traffic accident and will miss time due to injuries sustained. Maybe they played with fireworks and will miss time due to injuries sustained. Maybe he misses games due to a hernia operation. Okay, yes, all of those examples are just from one player, but they could happen to anyone. There's a long list of potential scenarios, not all of them bad. Some will positively affect the player too, or at least his performance. Think of these like those chance cards in Monopoly. That's not all though, players in the draft will be affected too. This series will create high-risk, high-reward players by assigning randomly selected players storylines. Those players will have 3 random stats improved by 5 points, making first-round talents all the more worth drafting and making later-round talents worth a second consideration. We won't know what exactly has been improved, we'll just know that they're better, but at a higher risk of getting suspended, as all these players will have an increased chance of being suspended once in the NFL. You might get a Tyrann Mathieu story, or you might get a Josh Gordon story, but giving these guys a chance will always be worth it. Now to the numbers. When I say random events, I mean random. The chance of suspensions and practice injuries happening are based on real-life NFL statistics turned into percentages of chance. With the truly random events added, there is a 1 in 3 chance that an event takes place in any given in-game week. How it works in practice is like this. I'll be using a random number generator set to select a number between 1 and 1,000. All the scenarios are assigned a set of numbers based on the chance of that scenario happening. So example, 1 to 70 would be a suspension, as there is a 7% chance of that happening. Why 1 to 1,000 and not 1 to 100? Because some have a 4.2% chance of happening, for example. This way a random scenario will be selected, and following that a random player, apart from the exceptions previously mentioned, and on top of those, quarterbacks, kickers, and punters can't suffer from practice injuries for obvious reasons. They're never in scenarios where that would happen. And I think that explains everything you might want to know. Oh, right, yeah, I probably should tell you what team we're going to be using. It came down to 3 choices. The Dolphins as the worst team in Madden, and I'm not sure how they managed that. Congratulations, Giants. The Buccaneers with a terrible roster outside of 2 to 3 players and minimal cap space. And then the Bengals, who also only have a few really good players, but really kind of fit the theme of this franchise the best out of all teams in recent years. And the team that ended up being selected were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who will be home to the NFL Bad Boys in Madden 20. Well, some bad boys, some easily injured boys. A great fit with the head coach Bruce Arians, who we know is happy to give guys a second chance, and multiple players on the team who you'd think have a random event generator applied to their careers, such as JPP and Jameis Winston. There will be 2 ineligible players for suspensions in this team, Mike Evans and Levante David. Before any random events even take place, we'll have some big decisions to make, as the roster is poor and the team does not have a lot of cap space available to improve it. There might need to be some cuts or trades just to make space to improve the team even a little bit, but there are only 3 types of players we're allowed to sign. 1, anyone that Bruce Arians has coached before. Number 2, anybody with a troubled past, and we'll leave it as broad as that. And 3, anyone with an injury rating below 85. There are 4 players in the game with an injury rating below 80, so below 85 narrows it down to some of the most injury-prone players in the game. So that's it for this video. I hope everything I explained makes sense. To super simplify it, sometimes players will miss games due to events not usually included in Madden, adding an extra layer of adversity in trying to achieve our ultimate goal, winning a Super Bowl.